Before the world was captivated by the audacious plot of a Hollywood comedy, and before a major entertainment conglomerate found itself at the mercy of cyber terrorists, there was a film, a seemingly innocuous farce, that would ignite an international firestorm. The Interview, a movie co-directed by Seth Rogen and starring James Franco, was more than just another entry in the annals of American satire. It was a ticking time bomb that would lead to one of the most infamous cyber attacks in history. The story begins in the bustling studios of Sony Pictures in Burbank, California, where the creative minds behind The Interview were blissfully unaware of the storm brewing on the other side of the Pacific. As trailers and teasers began to circulate, North Korea's reaction was swift and severe. The regime labeled the film as an act of war, promising merciless retaliation if it ever saw the light of day. What started as a comedic endeavor quickly morphed into a high-stakes drama, with threats escalating to a fever pitch. Then came the fateful morning of November 24th, 2014. Sony employees logged onto their computers only to be greeted by the chilling sight of a red skeleton and the ominous message, "Hacked by GOP." This was no ordinary prank. It was the opening salvo in a cyber war waged by the so-called Guardians of Peace. This is the story of how a film intended to entertain became a catalyst for chaos. This is the story of The Interview and the cyber onslaught that followed its release. The announcement of The Interview was like lighting a fuse on a geopolitical powder keg. This audacious comedy, starring Seth Rogen and James Franco, would soon become the epicenter of an international controversy that no one saw coming. The film's plot, which involved two American journalists recruited by the CIA to assassinate North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, was a bold move that would provoke a series of events leading to one of the most infamous cyber attacks in history. But before the chaos unfolded, it all began with a simple idea for a movie. In March 2013, pre-production for The Interview was announced, setting the stage for what would become a cinematic firestorm. Principal photography took place in Vancouver from October to December 2013, under the direction of Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen. Produced by Columbia Pictures, L-Star Capital, and Point Grey Pictures, the film was set to be distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. The cast included James Franco as Dave Skylark, a flamboyant talk show host, and Seth Rogen as Aaron Rappaport, his loyal producer. Together they were tasked with the impossible, to interview and ultimately assassinate Kim Jong-un, played by Randall Park. From the moment the film's premise was revealed, it was clear that The Interview was not just another comedy. Its irreverent humor and controversial subject matter quickly drew the ire of the North Korean government. By June 2014, the tension had reached a boiling point. North Korea, notoriously paranoid about perceived threats to their safety, issued a stirred warning through their state news agency, KCNA. They promised merciless retaliation if Sony released the film, claiming it promoted terrorism against their country. The stakes were high, and Sony Pictures found itself in a precarious position.
What a predicament!
Initially slated for an October release, the film's debut was pushed back to December 24th, 2014, in an attempt to mitigate the escalating tensions. Reports surfaced that Sony had even re-edited the film to make it more palatable to North Korea, though these efforts did little to quell the storm brewing on the horizon. The morning of November 24th, 2014 began like any other at Sony Pictures Entertainment. Employees filed into their offices, unaware that their digital world was about to be turned upside down. Suddenly, computer screens went black, replaced by a menacing red skeleton and a message from the Guardians of Peace. The hackers had infiltrated Sony's network, and they weren't just after data, they wanted to send a message. The leaked information was a goldmine for anyone looking to exploit Sony's secrets. Personal details of employees, including social security numbers and home addresses, were laid bare. Unreleased films like Annie and Still Alice were pirated and spread across the internet. Executive salaries and sensitive emails, some containing unflattering remarks about Hollywood stars, were exposed for all to see.
Oh my!
The hackers' ultimatum was chilling. Sony must withdraw The Interview.
Cancelled!
A comedy that depicted a fictional assassination plot against North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. If not, the Guardians of Peace threatened to unleash further chaos and even hinted at terrorist attacks on theaters showing the film. The threat was taken seriously. Major theater chains, including Carmike Cinemas, Regal Entertainment Group, and AMC Theaters, announced they would not screen the movie. Faced with mounting pressure and potential danger, Sony made the difficult decision to cancel the film's formal premiere and mainstream release. But the story didn't end there.
But wait! There's more!
In a bold move, Sony released the interview digitally on December 24th, 2014, allowing viewers to watch it from the safety of their homes. The following day, the film saw a limited theatrical release. Despite the controversy, the film found an audience and its digital release was a success. However, the damage had been done. The hack had caused significant financial losses for Sony, estimated at $171 million. The breach also led to the resignation of Sony co-chairperson Amy Pascal in May 2015, a casualty of the scandal that had rocked the company to its core. U.S. intelligence officials quickly concluded that the attack was sponsored by the North Korean government, although North Korea vehemently denied any involvement.
No, it wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
The hack was seen as retaliation for The Interview, a film that had clearly struck a nerve with the reclusive regime. The incident highlighted the growing threat of state-sponsored cyber attacks and the vulnerability in corporate cybersecurity defenses. For Sony, the breach was a wake-up call. The company was forced to step up its cybersecurity measures, investing heavily in new technologies and protocols to prevent future attacks. The Sony hack was more than just a data breach. It exposed the fragility of digital security in an increasingly connected world, and underscored the need for robust defenses against such threats. The fallout from the hack was felt far and wide, affecting not just Sony but the entire entertainment industry. It raised questions about the balance between creative freedom and security, and the lengths to which a nation might go to silence dissent. As the dust settled, one thing was clear: the Sony hack had changed the game. The aftermath of the Sony hack was marked by a series of dramatic events and statements. President Barack Obama criticized Sony's decision to pull the film, stating that producers should not be intimidated by such acts. In response, Sony's CEO Michael Linton clarified that the decision was driven by theater chains' refusal to screen the film, not by the hackers' threats. On December 23, 2014, Sony authorized approximately 300 independent theaters to show The Interview on Christmas Day, and the film was also released on digital platforms like Google Play and YouTube. Despite the initial threats, no incidents occurred during the film's release, and the controversy surrounding it generated significant public interest, making it Sony's most successful digital release with $40 million in digital rentals. The hack also highlighted the broader geopolitical tensions between the United States and North Korea, with the letter accusing Obama of forcing Sony to distribute the film. The incident underscored the potential for cyber warfare to influence international relations and corporate decisions, leaving a lasting impact on how companies approach cybersecurity and crisis management. However, the implications of the Sony hack extended far beyond box office numbers, further straining diplomatic relations between the two countries. The hack showed the potential for cyber warfare to influence international relations and corporate decisions, highlighting the vulnerabilities of even the most powerful nations and corporations. The Sony hack also served as a wake-up call for the corporate world, emphasizing the critical importance of cybersecurity. Companies across various industries began re-evaluating their cybersecurity measures, recognizing that they could be targets of similar attacks. The incident prompted a shift in how companies approached crisis management, with an increased focus on preparedness and resilience. The incident left an indelible mark on Hollywood, international relations, and corporate practices, and it reminds us that our digital world is more connected than we think.